What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. What's good with y'all? Go check out my other videos. Check them out. Check them out. But first, stay on this one. So this video is going to be a lot more informative. This one is something I've had to think about for like a good little bit because I wanted to come up with just more than one pros or cons to each. You read the title, you saw the thumbnail. Let's get right into it. Pros and cons of indoor ranges versus outdoor ranges. So, some of y'all who, are trying to decide, oh, okay, what range really should I, make my main one, what kind of range at least, this is going to be helpful for you. For those of y'all who are new to shooting, who are new to guns as a whole, you want to know the pros and cons of each before you decide where you want to go shooting. Now, we're going to start with indoor. We're going to start with the pros, of course, because, you gotta be nice about it, right? So for the first one, it is convenient for most. There is no doubt that going to an indoor range compared to an outdoor range is much more convenient. Going to an indoor range, I mean, they're generally closer, they're more available, there's a lot more of them, generally speaking. There is no debating the fact that indoor ranges are much more convenient to go to than outdoor ranges. Excuse me. Number two, this one I'm kind of a big fan of because I don't know about you guys, but when I shoot a lot, I get hot. You know what I mean? I start sweating. Maybe it's just because I live in Florida, but who knows? Number two, another pro here for indoor shooting ranges. When you're done shooting, you go back into the AC. I like that. I don't know about you guys, but once again, when I'm done shooting, I'm sitting there sweating. I'm like, you know what? I need some cold air on me. And not to mention, some ranges are even cool enough that they offer water bottles as well. So, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big pro. You don't want to sit there right after you finish shooting just being super hot, sweaty, not being able to do a single thing about it. That's no fun. No, I'm sure we can all agree on that. So, yeah, being able to go into the AC is a pretty big pro right there. So, number three, and this one, if you are a gun nut like I am, right? So, if there is a wait, you get to look at guns. That's pretty cool. When you're sitting there waiting, oh yeah, you know what? Let me go ahead and take a look at that right there. Oh, got a new Glock right there. Yeah, let me take a look at that. Oh, is that the 43X MOS? Yes, sir. You get to look at some guns, and that's always fun. Who doesn't like sitting there if they have to wait because you already paid? It's not like you're going to sit there and be like, yeah, just give me my money back. I'm leaving. No, I mean, you already paid. You're going to sit there and do the little bit of waiting, however long it might be. You get to look at guns. That's always cool. Most outdoor ranges, you don't get to do that. Some of them do have stores where you can sit there and look at guns, but that's not most of them. You know what I mean? That's just really some. Moving on to number four. Number four is, and I do want to stress this one because while it is a pro for indoor ranges, it's not that you can't do this with outdoor ranges. So there are some outdoor ranges that allow you to rent guns, but the big pro for indoor ranges is that a majority of them allow you to rent guns. So if you are new to shooting, you don't know what kind of gun you want to get, generally speaking, this gives you a chance to shoot a gun, give you a chance just to get a feel for how it's going to shoot, what you might want, what you might not want. That's always good. Excuse me. However, I can also say that renting guns, in my opinion, I don't like it. But once again, it's pretty helpful for somebody who wants to get a feel for a gun before they buy it, somebody who is new to firearms, who's like, hey, I do kind of want to figure out what type of gun I might like the most. So once again, renting guns, a pretty big pro. Number five, and this one, some of y'all might be like, oh, why did you bring this up? And I'll get into why in a second. Of course, this thing ain't working. Number five, indoor ranges are generally a good bit easier for emergency services to get to. Now, of course, nobody is planning for emergency services to be needed at the shooting range. However, accidents do happen, and more times than not, especially if you watch my channel, you know how to be safe with guns. So it might not even be because of you. It might just be because of somebody else, and you might be the victim. You might be the one who gets hurt solely because of the fact of someone else's negligence. So yeah, I mean that is a pretty big pro. It's not something that you ever really want to have to deal with, of course, but if you do have to deal with it, indoor ranges are going to be easier than outdoor ranges generally are for emergency services to get to, get you out, and get you patched up, I guess you could say. Now, moving on to the cons. And before I get into the cons, I want to say one thing. I put an extra con on indoor ranges. So there are 6. I was going to do 5 pros, 5 cons for both. But I'm done. I put 6 down for the cons, and then I was like, for indoor ranges, and then I was having trouble coming up with a 5th for cons of outdoor ranges. So you only get 4 outdoor range cons. Deal with it, you know? But indoor range cons. The first one is you have to pay per hour. I really don't like that. I'm sorry, but I don't know about you guys. I like to buy a good bit of ammo when I go to my range days. I like to, make it more than just 1 hour of fun. 1 hour with just some normal mags, like no extended magazines, nothing extra, right? You can maybe run through like 300 rounds. That's if you don't have them loaded in mags already, but you have to sit there and load them in between each mag. That ain't enough for me. You know what I mean? Like my next range day, I plan on shooting around 750 rounds, if not more. So you see the problem there? I don't want to pay per hour because generally speaking, let's think about it. Per hour, right? I can sit there and we'll be nice and say $15 per hour, which that's still kind of iffy in my opinion, but that's lower than most ranges I've been to recently have been charging. Let's say I'm there for 2.5 hours. That is, instead of, a one-time flat fee, which I'll get into a little bit later, but instead of like a one-time flat fee, I have to pay $37.50 just for being there and shooting. That seems a bit excessive to me. Charging per hour is ridiculous in my opinion, but it's how they make their money. So that is a con that you're going to have to deal with. Number 2, indoor ranges more times than not are going to be louder than outdoor ranges. Now, of course, there are some exceptions. Once again, I will get into those exceptions later, but I can tell you right now with with the sound bouncing off all the walls in the indoor ranges, it is going to be a lot louder. And I don't know if you guys have been next to the guy who shoots a Micro Draco at the indoor range, but I've been the person next to that guy. And oh man, nothing pisses me off more. So I can tell you guys right now without a doubt, as somebody who has shot at indoor ranges, outdoor ranges on private property, that the indoor ranges are the loudest out of them. There's no denying that. And I mean, honestly, it kind of cracks me up because with outdoor ranges and private property, I shoot my AR, my ears are not ringing, even though I have ear pro on at indoor ranges, and sometimes my ears will still be ringing. Not because the ear pro isn't on right, it's simply because of the fact that it is a lot louder inside than it is outside. So yeah, generally speaking, because once again, there are some exceptions, but generally speaking, indoor ranges are a lot louder than outdoor ranges. Number 3, you can only shoot up to a certain caliber. Most indoor ranges don't allow you to shoot pretty big calibers. Now, some of y'all might be wondering, oh, well, what defines, what are you defining as a larger caliber? I'm not talking like 5.56 or 7.62 by 39. I'm talking like 338 Lapua, 50 BMG, rounds like that, big, super heavy hitting rounds. And the reason they don't allow you to shoot those rounds there is because their backstops are simply not prepared for it. It can't take the heat. You feel me? So with that being the case, that kind of limits, their audience, because there are some people that, or not audience, I guess their clientele would be a better way to say it. But because some people, generally speaking, they might just want to go shoot their 50. Who knows? But yeah, that is an issue that I have. And I mean, some ranges, it's even been as ridiculous as, like, for example, when I worked at that AC company I used to work at, the owner of the company has a Scar H. So .308. They wouldn't even let him shoot his SCAR at the range, or excuse me, at the specific indoor range. And that range did allow you to shoot rifles. I want to point that out. But my point is that just generally speaking, you can only shoot up to a certain caliber at indoor ranges, whereas outdoor ranges, that's a whole nother story. Now, number 4, and I think we can all kind of just agree and be like, yup, this is the worst. The range safety officers are going to be a little bit more on your tail. They're going to be bothering you a little bit more at indoor ranges because they are within such close proximity to you. They really don't care. They will lean over your shoulder. I swear, one time, I cannot make this up. I was at a specific shooting range, right? And I was shooting, and out of nowhere, I shot my last round, and I turned my head, and I see the RSO like 4 inches behind me. Sorry if y'all just had to hear my shirt running over the microphone. Like 4 inches behind me to my right, and for a second, I cannot make this up, guys. For a second, I generally thought bro was about to whisper in my ear like it was some weird sexual stuff. Bro, it was, I don't like how much, range safety officers are bothering people at indoor ranges. They tend to be a bit more annoying about it. And I mean, they just tend to be a bit more uptight with the rules, realistically speaking. And while, yes, there are rules in place for a reason, there is also a difference between enforcing rules and invading people's personal space and bothering them for no reason. But that's besides the point. Number five. Another con for indoor shooting ranges, you can't shoot as far. I've been to some indoor ranges that are like up to 50 yards. I believe that's the largest, I've seen an indoor range be. And that's pretty unfortunate in my opinion, because I don't know about you guys, I actually have shorts posted up, but I prefer sometimes shooting at far distances. I want, well, not even far with a rifle really, but I want to be able to shoot at 100 yards. I want to be able to, to shoot a good distance and it not be an issue. And at indoor ranges, that's just not going to happen. Now, some people might argue, oh, well, it's simply because their building just won't have enough space. And yeah, sure, you can make that argument, but hey, why not just like, reconstruct a bit, you know what I mean? Remodel. But regardless, I'm not going to get into that. That's just my personal opinion. Number 6. And before I say this one, I do want to preface that some outdoor ranges are the same, but it's nowhere near as strict or petty as it is with these indoor ranges. And number 6 is you can't shoot certain kinds of ammo. So some of y'all might be wondering, well, what do you mean, right? So I'll give you guys a perfect example. One range that I, used to go to, I don't go there too much anymore, and it's nothing wrong with the range. It's just that I don't live as close to it as I used to. They will allow you to shoot handguns and shotguns. You can't shoot rifles though. But hold on, the shotguns you can't shoot. The shotguns that you can shoot, you can't shoot buckshot or slugs. It has to be birdshot. That's just at one range, okay? Now, an entirely different range that allows you to shoot handguns, rifles, shotguns. They have their own lanes for it, whatever. They won't allow you to shoot birdshot. You have to shoot buckshot or slugs. Now, hold on. A common denominator among these as well is you can't shoot steel-cased ammo. Now, personally speaking, have I let that stop me from running my steel case 7.62x39? No, not at all. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not going to say the name of the ranges because they're probably going to start looking for me if I do. But long story short is that at a majority of indoor ranges, they are a bit more strict about what kind of ammo you can shoot. Moving on to outdoor ranges, we're going to start with pros. Most of them require a one-time fee for the day. And that's something I was mentioning before that I didn't like about indoor ranges, is that they require you to pay per hour, whereas with outdoor ranges, you can pay once and you can literally be there for the entire time open to close. That's it. You see what I mean? I've been to outdoor ranges where they've told me, hey, if you want to go get some lunch, we have your name down here. Worst comes to worst, you come up, and if it's a new guy here, just show your ID, your name matches, you're good to go. You can come back in. they allow you to go out and get lunch and come back. I mean, that's pretty freaking cool if you ask me. Now, number 2, and once again, I'm going to get into the exceptions in a second, but usually outdoor ranges are going to be more quiet than indoor ranges. Why is that? Once again, as I mentioned before, with indoor ranges, you are surrounded by walls and the sound is bouncing off of them right back to you. It's going to be a lot louder. So with outdoor ranges, you're not surrounded by walls. The sound is going much further out. Therefore, it's not going to be as loud. Now, of course, I am no scientist. I did not explain it in a very scientific way. However, the way I explained it is pretty much well enough for you guys to understand and well enough for my 5-year-old niece to understand. Or yeah, no, I think she's like 6 or 7 now. Geez, I am horrible when it comes to ages. Regardless, off topic. Now, of course, there are exceptions to it being more quiet. For example, if somebody maybe right next to you or whatever is shooting a pretty large caliber, yeah, you're going to hear that, But imagine them shooting that caliber right next to you inside. It's still no competition. Number 3, you can shoot further distances, and of course, there are some exceptions to that rule. Some, outdoor ranges just don't have the land. But a majority of them, you can shoot at further distances than you can indoor ranges. We're talking 100 yards, sometimes even further. Now, some of y'all might, be wondering, oh, why does it feel like you're going quicker with the outdoor ranges? Look at how long the video's already been. So, shooting at further distances, it allows you to get more training in varying different aspects. It allows you to it allows you to learn how to shoot dealing with, I guess you could say, more of the elements than you would at a shorter distance. For example, the wind sure is going to affect, the trajectory of your bullet when you're shooting at 25 yards. However, it's going to affect it a lot more at 100 yards than 25, obviously. Now, moving on to number 4, and this is more so a pro for me, for me. Most of them allow you to smoke there. I like that, So, like, for example, when the range goes cold, let's say you're quick enough to go ahead and get your target moving, everything's all good. You replace your target, step behind that line. A lot of ranges will let you smoke a cigarette, or in my case, I'll hit my vape. I like that. I don't like with indoor ranges that I would have to leave to go, hit my vape a couple times if I had been there for a good while. Because sometimes I would be in indoor ranges. I'd be at the store park talking to people for like a couple hours before I even go into the range. And then I'm there at the range for another hour. So I'm like, oh, I need some nicotine because I am indeed an addict and I want to quit this eventually. But at the time, I still have it. So that's just for me. Some of y'all might not really care about that one. 5, you can shoot higher calibers. This one was obviously going to be a given. You can shoot much higher calibers at an outdoor range than you can indoor range. Part of that has to do with the fact that their backstops are more likely going to be able to take it compared to an indoor range, and at further distances. I mean, it really gives you a chance to let these higher calibers that you have and can shoot shine. You see what I'm saying? Now, moving on to cons. And cons, these are, once again, I only have 4 of them. It's not that there aren't more, it's just that I couldn't think of more. So, con number 1, much more affected by the weather. Now, some ranges, they'll close if it's a real bad raining day. Some ranges won't. However, no matter what, you're going to be affected by the weather. Whether it means that you're having to stand and wait outside, whether it means you're having to sit there and go and change your target in the rain, whether it means the rain's going to affect the trajectory of your bullet, you're going to be much more affected by the weather when it comes to shooting at an outdoor range compared to an indoor range, obviously. Number 2, they generally speaking are more out of the way to get to. This isn't just for you in a convenience sake. Once again, there are accidents that happen on ranges that has sometimes they will have nothing to do with you other than you being the one who gets hurt. And it's very unfortunate, But in the end, that's also something you have to remember, that they are a tiny bit more out the way. For example, for you to get to, for you to leave from if you need to, for emergency services to get to, and emergency services to leave. Now, whew, yeah, had to go through those quick. Number 3, the range has to go cold at some point. So if you don't know what the range going cold means, it simply means that, hey, everybody needs to stop shooting. All right. We need to make sure all of our firearms are clear. And we want you to put a chamber flag in your firearm so we can all see that it's clear. Stand behind the line. We're going to give everybody a chance to go change their targets. Now, some people might be like, oh, why is that such a bad thing? Well, I mean, it might just be a bit more inconvenient considering I might not be ready to stop shooting yet. I might want to keep shooting. That is a pro about indoor ranges that realistically just not too much of a pro about indoor ranges, but more of a con about outdoor ranges is that you have to adhere by the schedule of what the RSOs say when it comes to shooting, essentially. And that's something you're going to have to deal with. The fourth and final one, and this one bugs me the most about outdoor ranges, is they are not open as late as a lot of indoor ranges are. I've seen plenty of outdoor ranges that literally will close at 1 p.m. or 3 p.m. And that's just absolutely insane to me. That's ridiculous. There's no excuse for that, in my opinion. I've seen some indoor ranges that will allow you to be there shooting until 9 p.m. That's a big difference right there. So, I mean, I don't know. My schedule's a bit different from your guys's. So something like that where outdoor ranges, they don't stay open a tiny bit later, it is a big deal to me. Now, with that being said, I think that about wraps it up for this video because, once again, while I spent a lot of time on the indoor, the outdoor, I'm going to give you guys my final opinion. I truthfully prefer outdoor ranges over indoor, but that is personally just me. Now, with that being said, y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. When you hit that bell, hit all, and whether or not you agree with me on these pros or cons, if I missed any, as a matter of fact, make sure to comment them down below. Other than that, y'all make sure to check out all my other videos, and then y'all make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.